Some years ago, my mother, Naomi Ruth Barbara King, along with my brother, Reverend Derek King, and I signed a statement called The Beloved Community and the Unborn. The statement points out that the beloved community, about which my uncle, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. taught and preached, must include the children in the womb if it is to be complete. After all, we cannot condone any kind of injustice, violence, or inequality, including that directed against the unborn by abortion. You can be a signer of this special declaration as well. Go to civilrightsfortheunborn.com to read and sign it. Join the movement today.
You're listening to an encore of Called to Communion on EWTN. No phone calls, please.
What's stopping you from becoming a Catholic?
Why can't women become priests?
What's stopping you?
I don't understand why I have to earn salvation.
What's stopping you?
Why do I need to confess my sins to a priest?
What's stopping you? This is Called to Communion with Dr. David Anders on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome again to Call to Communion here on EWTN. It's the program for our non-Catholic brothers and sisters. Those of you who have questions about the Catholic faith, what a great resource this is to get those questions answered. However, because it is a national holiday and the network is closed today, we're not going to be taking your phone calls, but we will do a whole bunch of emails that we've received over the past few weeks, so we are definitely looking forward to that. So today it's going to be our producer Charles Beery, me, Tom Price, and Dr. David Anders.
Tom, how are you today?
I'm very good, and a very happy Martin Luther King Day to you, my friend.
Oh, happy Martin Luther King Day to you as well.
You know, we talk about this amazing man at least once or twice a year, and on this day, I know that one of the most important things you've ever read, you've told us so, is the letter from the Birmingham jail. Maybe you can tell us about that a little bit.
I used to teach history at the University of Alabama in Birmingham in a classroom that was basically a stone's throw away from the Birmingham jail.
Wow.
And I would often open my history class by getting the students to reflect on the value of history. And many of them had heard the old quip that, you study history to avoid making our ancestors' mistakes. And I also wanted to encourage them to think, well, you can also study history for more than just a record of errors, but you can also look to it for wisdom and examples of heroism and things that you can do the right way.
Sure.
And I would say, as an example of this, let's look at a couple of texts, and I would have them read, or I would read to them portions of the letter from the Birmingham jail, and point out as I'm going along all the references to historical figures and great thinkers, Catholic, Protestant, and from other traditions that Dr. King would cite and quote in his great letter and his other speeches. And I would say, okay, kudos to the first person who can tell me what this is. And it didn't take very long before somebody in the room would figure out I was reading Dr. King. And so they had a habit. They didn't know they had a habit of looking to the past for examples of how to behave properly, how to think properly, how to interact properly. They looked to Dr. King. And I pointed out, well, that King did the same thing. He looked to the patrimony of Christian tradition, Catholic tradition, natural law theory, Thomas Aquinas, Jewish theologians like Martin Buber as well, Protestants like Tillich and Niebuhr influenced him, and he is an outstanding example, an exemplar of this very kind of ecumenical engagement with the rich patrimony of Christian tradition.
May he indeed rest in peace. So we're going to, thank you very much for that. We're going to read some letters that we've received really from all over the world. And if you would like to send us an email for a future show, here's the address, ctc@ewtn.com. We're going to lead off. We're here with Benoit Waziri from the Democratic Republic of Congo. And Benoit says, why do we pray in front of statues of Mary?
Okay, thanks. I appreciate the question. So first of all, a Catholic prayer life takes a lot of forms, and Christ tells us that we should go into our secret room or closet and pray to the Father in heaven who is in secret. And you can, of course, always pray in your own interior life without the use of external or visible props. But that doesn't mean that we should neglect the tactile or the sensible in our prayer life. because these things can be evocative, they can inspire us, they can move us or affect us emotionally, and the emotions are part of our cognitive apparatus. They motivate us, they help us to focus in and think and reflect and meditate, and they can become an aid to prayer. Artwork can do that in the same way that a text can do that. I can pick up maybe a narrative about the life of a saint or the Blessed Virgin Mary, be inspired by their example, and move to prayer. In the same way, I might contemplate an image that would do the same thing. I remember earlier in my Catholic life, you've seen these images of the Blessed Virgin, and she's depicted sort of writ large. She's sort of like, Godzilla saint, who's the size of the planet, and she's got her foot on the Satan or the serpent, and she's sort of standing on top. Our Lady of, I don't know what the title is, but it's basically of the whole globe sort of thing,
Yes.
And for some reason, I just found tremendous comfort, especially in times of trial and temptation, in meditating or looking at or reflecting on this idea of this very sort of beautiful Virgin Mary who was interceding for the entire world, and I, of course, included myself in that in that conception. And at different seasons of my life, different artistic depictions of Mary have been more or less inspiring to me, according to whatever the circumstances I was going through at the time were. I really like the Madonna and Child type images, especially those iconic representations from the Byzantine tradition that calls me to reflect on the truth of the Incarnation. And this is the value of art. But, if a particular image doesn't move you, you go find some other devotional prop that works for you.
There you go. And thank you so much for checking in from Congo, Benoit. We appreciate hearing from you. David, before we go to break, I got to tell you, there is a wonderful image of Our Lady that I've seen many, many times on Father Mitch's Holy Land Rosary. And when Adrienne and I went to the Holy Land a few years ago, we actually got to see the image up close and personal. And it's the one, you've probably seen it yourself, where Our Lady is holding her mantle with arms out wide, and there are people under it. And so she's naturally a little bit bigger than what she would normally be. But there's all kinds of people under there, doctors and scientists